All right, lovelies, part two of my eyeshadow palette declutter series. This one is all about the color, baby. This is going to be my collection of colorful eyeshadow palettes. My goal is to get rid of at least 25%. We'll see how I do. If we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, if you love neutral eyeshadows as well, make sure to check out part 1 of the series, which is all of my neutral eyeshadow palettes. I'll have it linked down in the description box. This declutter felt so good to do. It really helped inspire me. It helped me realize what I do have in my collection. It made me have an honest conversation with myself. And actually, I had quite a few conversations with all of you in this video. Let's get into it. Here we are with all of my colorful palettes. I believe there are 74 here, so we are going to declutter these right now. Well, not all of them, but hopefully a decent bit. All right, so let's start off with some easy ones, some that I know that I'm not going to get rid of, and of course that's my Blend Bunny palette. So here we have blends, we have Surge and Primal. I also have the Dollhouse, but that one went into my neutral video just because it is leaning a little bit more neutral. Still a lot of color in that one, but it is a bit more neutral. Not getting rid of any of these. I of course love them. I do wish that I had the Surge palette with the newer shimmer formula in it, but when I reach for a blends palette, I'm usually reaching for the mattes anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but I do really love these palettes and they're all staying in my collection. Another easy choice to keep is the 2 of the Mothership Mega palettes I have. Here we have the first one, the Celestial Odyssey palette. Love these colors. I do like the second one better, but this one is still beautiful. Let's see, maybe you'll be able to see it if I can get it in focus. I think that's in focus there. I've really been struggling with the autofocus on this, trying to do this declutter, so bear with me here. But I do love this one. I have decided not to get the 3rd Mothership Mega just because I don't really think I need the color story, and I feel like I have everything that I could need in these 2 as far as the Mega palette. So this is definitely a better color story for my needs. There's just a bit less purple. I really like the tones in here. I love these. I think it's great quality, so I'm definitely keeping both of these. And here we have the Mothership 3 Subversive palette. Just took her out of her little envelope there. I love this color story. I need to pull this one out. I think this is going to be a good like fall, winter kind of jewel tone vibes feel. I did just recently do a look with this palette on my channel. I definitely need to get some more use out of her though, but I'm keeping her. I honestly don't see myself buying another Mothership anytime soon. I did get all of the ones that I have, including some that were in my more like neutral video. I did get all of them on like mega sale, and that's really the only way I could see spending the high price for these palettes, but I do enjoy the ones that I have and I just need to get more use out of them. Now here is one Pat McGrath little palette that I am deciding to let go of. This is the Eye Ecstasy Subversive palette. Honestly, I just swatched these out and I'm like, these are very pretty shades. I feel like I have all of them, especially now that I have these 2 little holiday palettes, this one and the more neutral one. They were my first Pat McGrath purchases, and you know, now that I have the Mothership Megas, now that I have even just like the regular Motherships, I feel like I have most of these shades. I mean, let's face it, I think the only thing, I just swatched these out and I was like, wow, this shade right here is really quite pretty, but I have some like deep bluey teals in my collection. It's not like I'm going to be missing out, and in all honesty, I have not reached for this. Like, I think I reached for it twice and that's it in the, you know, 2+ years that I've had it, so it's time to let it go. All right, I have this little 6-pan Mothership palette. This is the Rose Decadence palette. I do really like this color story. It's very pretty. I think that the mattes are beautiful, the shimmers are beautiful. It's a nice little color story that I can either use on its own or bring in some other shades from another little mini palette. So I do really like it, and she will be staying. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because if you watch my channel, you will know that I recently said that I was going to be decluttering this, or if you've heard me talk on Instagram, I think I said it as well. These shimmers just crease on me like nobody's business. The last time I used this palette, even the mattes faded pretty quickly, so I really wanted to like this one. Some of the shades in this color story are so pretty, but I just can't with the creasing, so I'm going to try to pass it along to somebody who has maybe used Beauty Bay before and enjoys the formula. All right, very quickly, I am just gonna quickly show these 5 palettes that I got from BoxyCharm, and I'm getting rid of all of them. I will be very curious to see as we go through if I kept any of the ones in my BoxyCharm boxes. This is the Editor palette from Ciate London. Actually, this was a nice little palette, but I just never reached for it. You just have a couple mattes in here, some shimmers, some satins. It's cute. It's just not something that I need or use. Again, another brand that I like. I've had great results with this formula. This is the Violet Voss Essentials 2 palette. It's a pretty little color story. Like, I love this copper shade. I mean, you could get a lot of use out of this, but I'm just not. So time to go. This is just this like self-branded generic palette. I don't know if BoxyCharm was considering bringing out their own makeup. I was just really underwhelmed by the quality of this palette. I mean, I think I used it once or twice. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, I wouldn't even say it was good. So it's time to get rid of it. All right, here we have the Zoeva Screen Queen palette. Loved the like little Art Deco moment. The color story inside, you know, cool tones. It's not really gonna be something I reach for much. There was something about this formula. Like, I felt like it's a little bit, you know, like sparkly, glittery, very pretty. Oh, here we go. Like, there we go. It's pretty, but there was just something about it that I remember irritating my eyes. Like, I don't know if it just like had fallout, but I just felt like my eyes were itchy when I used this one. So it's a no for me. I remember when this palette first came out, everybody was losing their mind over it. This is the Moroccan Spice palette from Fenty. I think this was Fenty's first eyeshadow palette. Got it in BoxyCharm in the Fenty beauty box. Like, they did an entire like box from Fenty. Boy, I think it was BoxyCharm. Was it Trend Mood? No, I don't think it was Trend Mood. I do think it was BoxyCharm. I think it was like, what was it? BoxyCharm Premium or whatever. Just underwhelming. Okay, but nothing special, and it's time to let it go. We just really quickly went through some that I knew I was decluttering. Let's really quickly go through some that I know I'm not decluttering, and that is all of these little 9 pans from Glam Shop. I will quickly show them to you. This is the Zialoni palette. This is the green one. Oh, I mean, come on. How could I ever let that one go? We have the camo. This one is just, you know, greens again, but a little bit more grungy. Love, love, love. So this one I don't use quite as much just because I haven't been wearing teals, although I think I should pull this out this winter. That would be really fun. I tend to like use more of these light shades in the summer, but I think it could be both a winter and a beachy palette. So keeping it. This is technically my least used palette. This is the Paprika palette. I do want to pull this out this fall. This one did just go into my fall palette picks, so I'm going to be pulling it out for some warm and spicy looks. It's really fun. It's just not something that I tend to reach for. And for sure, my most used, most loved palette. This is the Citronata palette. This one is so fun. It's just so bright and beautiful. I love it. I just can't say enough about this palette. You know I love a good yellow moment. And this is my most recent purchase from Glam Shop. This is the Celadon palette. This beautiful baby. She will be used this spring. I mean, this is just such a beautiful color story. Like, you've got these beautiful like light blues, you have some more earthy greens, and then that yellow. You know, I'm gonna use that one right away. All right, so here is the one Glam Shop palette that I am considering getting rid of. This is the Celebrate palette. I just don't use it a lot. I don't reach for it a lot. There's something about this color story that it just doesn't grab me that often. It's a little bit big. It doesn't seem to fit in my drawer very well. It's just, there are a couple shades in here that I'm like, ooh, I love this. Like this green right here, it's so good, but I know that I definitely have this in my singles. A couple of these shades have been fun to work with, but it's just, it's not a need. I should probably just pass it along. Maybe somebody who has never tried Glam Shop would really enjoy getting to try both the mattes and the shimmers. By the way, sorry for the noise. I swear when I opened up this window earlier today, it was really quiet out, and then the minute I opened it up, it got really loud and crazy, but it's just so nice out. I mean, it is, we're like 2 weeks into October, and it's nice enough to have the windows open, so I just have to do it. Okay, this one breaks my heart a little bit just because I do love Samantha March, but this palette, I just don't reach for it. When I used it, you know, I've used it, you know, quite a few times, but just a couple of these eyeshadows just sort of were a little lackluster compared to other brands that I have, and I do like these face items, but I have all of the split pans from Samantha's original collaboration with Ofra, and truly, I think that these are all, I really just think that these are all like the split pans mixed together. So if you know, like the River Bronzer was like matte and shimmer, I feel like this is just that together. Let's see, Start Inspired Highlighter, I think that that's what this is, and then the blush, which I just love. I kind of want to pop this out and keep it. But I have the other blush, and I can just mix them together. I really do think that that's all that this is. I could be wrong, but I do feel like that's what this is, and it's just not enough to keep, and someone will get more use out of it if I keep it whole. So this one's going away. All right, now that the train has gone by, This is a palette that I've been tempted to declutter, but I really feel like I need to use it a little bit more. This is the Pretty Poison palette from Notoriously Morbid. This is the first and only palette that I have tried from the brand. I had fun playing with it. I just haven't reached for it a whole lot. Like these, it's these shades that I was sort of like, oh, they aren't quite as fun as I was hoping that they would be. This shade was absolutely gorgeous. I loved playing with that one. I don't know. Honestly, I think what I need to do is put this on the chopping block. I can use it this fall, and if it's still underwhelming, I'm just gonna get rid of it. So this is going in the chopping block pile. All right, the two palettes I have from Gourmand Girl. This is the first one that I got. This is Galactic Gourmand. This is just this cute little 6-pan. I really like these. I've used, I think, 2 or 3 shades out of here and really enjoyed them. Very, very pretty, very sparkly. And then I was kindly gifted the Spooked palette from the brand. Seriously, y'all, this has been such a fun one to play with this fall. I will definitely be getting a lot of use out of this one. She is staying in my collection for sure. Another palette I plan on keeping is the Cutting Edge palette from Dose of Colors. Oh, look at that color story. Look at my microphone. But look at that color story. I mean, you've got this beautiful grungy sort of like baby poop shade, and then a yummy warm rich color. You've got these like khaki olive tones. This is totally my jam. I think I've only used this one once though, so I definitely need to get more use out of it. It will be going into my Shop My Stash for the fall. All right, 2 palettes that I definitely got drawn into by the packaging of. First, I think this is the first one that I got. This is the Esperanza palette from Kat Von D. I mean, pretty color story, but it's actually fairly underwhelming when you actually use it. The packaging is just beautiful though. Such a beautiful artwork. I just never used this. I think I used it like twice and it was like Whisper of color. It was the Sparkling Water of eyeshadow. Now this one, on the other hand, let me pull her out of her beautiful package here. I never gave her the love she deserved because it is so big. It's so big. It just makes me so sad. I don't really have anywhere to put this. I just don't see myself using this set. I mean, this is obviously quite old at this point. I wanted this palette so bad. I bought it like the instant it came out on Sephora, and it came with this shadow like busted. And I remember talking to the Sephora like customer service, like, I need a new one of these, and they were sold out. And it was like, nope, sorry, we can't do that. And I was like, well, but I still want this palette and you don't have it anymore. So it was this huge tragic moment. I ended up keeping the busted one. But then I just never used her a lot. But I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous artwork. Oh, love that. So it was beautiful, but it's just been sitting in a cabinet, so it's time to let her go. A couple palettes that I was so excited to be able to get my hands on and just haven't used a lot. These are obviously 2 of the Temptalia palettes in collaboration with Sydney Grace, or Sydney Grace in collaboration with Temptalia, however you want to look at it. Let's see, which are these? This is Radiant Reflection and Quintessence. So Millie from Bad to the Brow was kind enough to send these over to me, and this is Radiant Reflection. This one did come with a busted blue shadow, so I just had to press it in. The only problem with both of these is that I always feel like I need to pull out another palette, like something to ground these shades a little bit, like a little bit of a lighter matte or something, or like a shimmery inner corner. There's always something that I feel like I'm lacking, so I feel like this needs a companion palette. I really need to use these more. If I don't find myself using them in the next few months, I think what I'm going to do, it kills me because this packaging is so pretty, but if I don't find myself using these, what I might do is just pull them out and put them in my singles collection, because I did see that Sydney Grace has been offering the shades in these as singles, which I thought was really nice. So then that way I could use them for BYOPs and people could still get those shades if they are so inspired to do so. But man, this packaging is just so pretty. Okay, so does anybody remember this? I cannot believe I still have this palette. This is, of course, the Urban Decay Electric palette. This was probably the only Urban Decay palette that I got and really enjoyed. And even for that, I had to work at it. I had to work at it to get these colors to build the way that I would like them to. Wow. She is as old and outdated as she sounds. I mean, I remember feeling like, yes, these are gonna look so awesome on the eye. And you know, I mean, it was okay. It's just like this blue especially, it just never looked the way that I wanted it to. You really had to like pack on another base color just to even get them to be very vibrant. So it's time for these to go. All right, another palette that I'm letting go of. This is one of the Sweet Shop palettes from BH Cosmetics. This is the Pistachio palette. This was kindly given to me by ATHR Beauty. The shimmers, again, these shimmers, I think I've used this palette a few times and it's got that like thicker, more emollient shimmer formula and it just creases on me. And I don't feel like a lot of shadows crease on me, but this was almost like the same formula in the Beauty Bay palette. They're just that like thick, smushy formula. Anyway, it doesn't seem to get along on my eyelids. I just don't know what it is. This palette is so cute. The color story is so cute. I just haven't reached for this one because I know it's going to crease and I might as well give it to someone who could use it. Okay, here I have 3 Ace Beauty palettes. I believe the only one that's in the newer formula is the Falling For You palette. I am definitely keeping this one. I love this little color story. I just used it the other day. The mattes worked great. The shimmer worked great. It's beautiful. So keeping this one, these two. I just need to pick one of these, and I think the one I'm going to keep is the Nostalgia. Again, this is the previous formula. I'm very tempted to like get the new formula just to see how it is, but that would be ridiculous. But I love the color story of this. I've featured this palette on my channel before. Very, very pretty. This is the Scarlet Dusk palette. I think this was the first Ace Beauty palette I got, but the thing is I feel like a lot of the vibe of this is in this one, other than like maybe the darker ones. And I've used this one, I enjoyed it, but I just feel like most of what I use is over here. And I feel like I have a lot of that in here with a couple other fun pops of color. So this is gonna be the one I keep. This one is going, and then of course that Falling For You palette I'm definitely keeping because she's a cutie. Okay, I feel like I've been doing a good job being somewhat brutal and selective in this process. So here I have 3 Juvia's Place palettes. I did have at least 2 others in my neutrals video, which by the way, I will make sure to have that link down below and also up above here if you do want to see the neutrals / nude portion of this palette declutter. So here we have the Nomad. I'll show you this one here. I love this color story. This is definitely a great fall color story. And let's see, this one is the Masquerade palette. Very pretty as well. And then we also have the Nubian 2. If I'm not mistaken, I think this might have been the first one I ever got from Juvia's Place. I could be wrong. Here's the thing. I just don't reach for these, especially the ones with the huge pans. I just can't see myself ever using these enough. Of course, there are a couple beautiful shades in here that really draw me to keeping this. Like this one here, so yummy. I mean, the green is beautiful. They're very nice quality. I just can't keep them because I'm just not touching them all the time. So I think I'm gonna get rid of these 2. I can't see getting rid of the Nomad. It's so pretty. I do feel like I have, you know, some similar shades in other palettes at this point, but I just know that if I want that like slightly grungy green moment, if I want, you know, some earthy vibes, I know I can reach for this one. And so she's gonna stay. All right, 2 collaboration palettes with Anastasia, and I bet you all know which one of the 2 I'm gonna be keeping. The Jackie Aina palette. I talk about this one a lot. I mean, this packaging. Hello, look at that. Ah, so pretty. I love this palette. It's such a great color story, such beautiful shadows. By the way, if you do have this one in your collection, I just recently, in my Natasha Denona My Dream, I swatched out some of the shades in here, and you'd be surprised how similar some of these are to that palette. So you should check that one out if you would like. I will have that one linked up here as well, but this is a beautiful palette. Jackie did a great job. I love this one. I always have fun when I wear this one, so this is the one I'm keeping. The Alyssa Edwards palette. A good concept. Like, look at this color story. Very fun, very pretty. I just didn't find the quality to be that great. We all know that purples and blues can be really hard to create and do well, and I just don't think it was done well in this palette. I think I used this one, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times. I got decent looks out of it, but again, I don't wear a lot of purples and blues, and the looks that I did get, I was like, okay, I feel like I could get this from other items in my collection, so I will be getting rid of this one. I have 3 of the 4 Legendary Diversa palettes. Honestly, I'm very tempted to go and try to find someone that's selling Judy's palette. I'm kicking myself for not getting that one. Ugh, really makes me mad. But anyway, of course, we have the Hella palette. This is Angelica Nyqvist palette. I really do like this one. I haven't been using it lately, but I need to pull this one back out. It's a great one with these grungy greens, the pops of pink, and you've got these beautiful sooty colors as well. So lots of fun using that one. This is Tina's palette, and this is the Hummingbird palette. This is the one that I struggle with the most, just because, again, I feel like I'm always missing something. I feel like I need a lighter matte, a shimmery inner corner, something with this one, so I just need to pull it out but use it with other palettes. It's a beautiful color story though. I mean, ooh, yummy, yummy. Love that. It's a lot of fun to work with. It's just not something that I've found a lot of use for on its own, and that's okay. So I'm definitely keeping it. This, of course, is Annette's palette, the Giant Wolves palette. This is my favorite in the series by far. I've really loved, like, ooh, this beautiful multi-chrome down here was a lot of fun to use. I just really enjoy this one. And actually, when I bought this, I don't think I'd even watched Annette's channel at all. So I did start watching after I bought this because I was like, ooh, this girl creates beautiful color stories. So I do enjoy some of her content. I've had a lot of fun with this one, and of course I'm keeping it. All right, here we have the Norns palette, another pretty palette, but one that, again, I just find myself always needing a little something else. Definitely wish that there was maybe one more matte in here that was lighter in tone. This is the only like light matte in here, and it's sort of an odd like cementy color, so I find that I just don't reach for it that much. But there are some beautiful shades in here. I am going to keep this one for now, but I need to start making use of it and decide if it's really worth having a placehold in my collection. Okay, to be honest, I think that this is my least favorite Odin's Eye palette in my collection. This is Soul Mana 2, and it's pretty. I definitely got some really beautiful looks out of this. It just, I don't know, it's just a little underwhelming. I don't know what I was hoping for, but it just doesn't quite hit the mark. I'm going to keep it for now. I love the packaging, but I actually really love the blush more than this. I think I wish that I had spent more money on the blushes and not gotten this palette. I mean, it's nice, it's decent quality, it's just not one that makes my heart go super pitter-patter. I'm gonna keep it for now. I'll probably use it this next spring and see how I'm feeling then. I just really have a hard time letting go of my Odin's Eye palettes because they do such a good job with the packaging, and the color stories are nice. It's just, this one just wasn't as inspiring. All right, I might as well pull in this collab palette. This is Club Nebula, which is of course Angelica Nyqvist and Kaleidos. Now here is an inspiring color story. I love this one. I love playing with this. I really need to pull this one back out probably this winter. I just love the combination of the jewel tones, the ethereal shades. I did find, I mean, I'm not one really to use like these iridescents as like topper shades. Like I just don't use toppers over mattes a lot. I would maybe use these over like, you know, Color Fix or something like that. So I tend to just like reach towards these and then maybe use these on the inner corner, but I need to play with this a little bit more. Such a pretty color story, such pretty packaging. Angie, you did a great job. This palette really made me want to dive more into the Kaleidos brand. Like, I mean, these shadows just performed so well, but since then, well, they did the Flower Punk palette, which I was tempted to get, but decided not to because I felt like I had shades similar. And then since then, they've just been doing like the slightly boring quads. It's been very underwhelming. I'm hoping that something will be coming out fresh and new and maybe not a quad soon, but I just haven't seen anything that's really spoken to me. So for now, this is my one and only Kaleidos palette. All right, a couple little mini palettes. These are the Huda Obsessions palettes. I have the mauve and the ruby. So originally, again, like I said, I don't know if I said it in this video, but this morning after like separating out all of my eyeshadow palettes, I was like in the shower thinking, contemplating what I was gonna keep, what I was gonna get rid of. And I thought, well, I think I'm gonna get rid of the ruby palette and keep the mauve palette. But then I was like, wait a minute. I feel like this palette is a lot like one I'm about to show in a moment, and this one could sort of be like a more mainstream version of the Paprika palette, and I just haven't reached for it. I haven't reached for either of these in a very long time, so I just need to let them go. I'm getting rid of both. All right, here is a palette that Aileen from ATHR Beauty sent over to me. I think she got it and tried it and wasn't in love with it. It doesn't really surprise me because it's a little glittery, which doesn't bother me. I really want to try this one, but this to me definitely speaks spring, you know, maybe winter with some of these cool tones in here. So I haven't touched it yet, and I don't think I will probably until later in the season. So she's going to stay with me for now. Let me know if you have this palette. Let me know if you use it a lot. By the way, this is Mercury retrograde. Forgot to say that. All right, we are getting down to the final few, so let's pull out Natasha. So this is the retro palette, and this is the one that I thought, you know, really kind of gives me the vibes of Mauve Obsessions. And you have more options in here, and I think I prefer these formulas more. Sorry, I feel like I'm not getting in focus there. You've probably all seen this palette. Who am I kidding? But this is definitely a keeper for me. I can't imagine getting rid of it. It really miffed me when I got it, and the palette was all smeared, and let's just say Natasha Denona's customer service wasn't super helpful. I don't think that they cared that there was smearing on the palette, but I really do, and it bugs me. But that's really the only bad thing about this palette. So I'm keeping this one. Here is, of course, the Sunrise palette, and I will also be keeping this one. I like this color story. There is something when I pull out this palette, I feel like it never gives me quite what I'm looking for from it. Like, I just always feel like, ooh, I'm gonna get these like bold, vibrant looks, and I don't feel like I ever get that. I think that these always end up being a little bit softer. You all know how I feel about the Natasha Denona shimmers. I feel like I wish that they shimmed a little bit more, but if I'm looking for a quick, easy, warm look, this is an easy one to grab and use. I am pretty sure too, when I bought this one, that it was like close to 50% off. I'm pretty sure. I like this palette. We don't have a major love affair, but I'm not ready to break up with it either, so she's staying. All right, and then I have 3 little baby palettes here. So we have 2 of the 5 pans. We have Cranberry on the top, and then this is the Coral palette right below. So these are both really pretty. I am keeping both of them. I think that they make a really nice like 10-pan palette together. I have really thought, I know I talked about this in my, I think I talked about this in my Natasha Denona, like ranking all my Natasha Denona palettes video. I'm so tempted to like pull out all of my 5 pans and just make one huge, massive Natasha Denona palette, but I don't know if I would use them anymore. That's the thing about these, is I just don't reach for them that much. I know better than to buy a 5 pan. I usually don't do that because I don't reach for them all that often. It's just not something I think of, because if I take this one, especially in this color story, if I take this one or I take this one, maybe not so much this one. This I think is a good standalone palette for me. This one, I feel like I'm gonna want something else to go with it. There's something missing in this palette. I am going to keep both of these. I love the colors here. I just need to use them either with each other or with some other, like maybe more neutral shades. I don't know, I just always feel like I'm lacking something here. But these are staying in my collection. And here I am saying that I know better than to buy little 5 pans, but I finally got my hands on the Natasha Mini Gold. I've been lusting after this one for a long time. You know, I'm a green lover. I do love this like grungy gold moment. I have worn this palette. No regrets here. I got it for like half off plus 20% off. That's a really good deal, and I do really like this one. She is staying as well, but I don't really think I will be grabbing any other 5 pans anytime soon. I just don't reach for them all that much. This is a really nice balance of color. The only thing I'm missing is an inner corner, and I just use my highlight for the day with it. But this one's so pretty. I'm glad to finally have her. Okay, really quickly, going through my ATHR Beauty palettes. I do like these. I just don't reach for them. Like these little quads. Again, I don't use quads, but this one, this is the Topaz palette. I mean, very pretty, but I just don't reach for it. This is, of course, the Amethyst. I think that's what it was called. Ametrine. This is very pretty. Again, another lovely color story, but one that I'm just not reaching for. And then we have the Amethyst palette. This one, I'll be honest, when I bought this palette, it came in a set, and I thought it was the Rose Quartz palette. I never would have bought a purple leaning palette. I used this, I got pretty looks with it, but I just don't reach for it. It needs to go to a purple lover, someone who likes, you know, a little bit softer look and doesn't need like super shimmy shims. But this is a pretty palette, it's just not for me. All right, getting down to the last few palettes. Sorry about the beeping outside, I just gotta keep rolling here. So my Nomad collection, I have 4 palettes here. I am keeping all of them. Surprise, surprise. Here we have America's Parks. Was this my first one? Yeah, I think this was my first one that I got. So pretty. Love this color story. I did just talk about this in my fall palettes video. Speaking of fall palettes, I of course had to get this beautiful Hudson Valley palette. I still haven't touched it. It's on the docket for this week. Of course, I'm not getting rid of this one because I just purchased it. And then I think this was the second one I purchased. This, of course, is the Whistler Snow Lodge palette. So fun. Definitely will be pulling this one out again this winter. I got this one and I did not utilize it enough this last winter, so I'll be excited to have a season where I'll pull out a few more of these icy shades. And then, ooh, probably my favorite in the bunch. I don't know, Hudson Valley may end up being my favorite, but I haven't touched it yet, but this is my favorite in the bunch for sure. I had so much fun using this palette. I think it's really well balanced. I do maybe wish that there was a bit more depth to this palette, but it's been a fun one. It was sort of like, what did I call it? Pastel with a pop? Yeah, I would say that that's what it is. It's sort of like pastel plus. You get a little bit of light and bright. You do get a couple pastel shades. I really had so much fun with this one, and of course Nomad always kills it with the packaging. Right, let's go through my colorful ColourPop. The So Jaded palette from the collaboration with Kathleen Lights. I have so many good memories with this one. I love it. It is really a beautiful color story. It's great if you like muted, colorful looks. So I really do love the colors in this palette. And of course, this is also the one I had Jeremy pick a few random shades from, and I created a look. So that was a fun video to do. I just have good memories with this one. I do actually really like the pressed glitters in here too. It's just been an all-around fun one for me to use. I'm gonna keep it. I just need to use it more. Again, it's another tall one that I need to find a better way to store so I see it. And here is the original Hocus Pocus collab palette. I bought this one in a restock. It might have been last fall, at the end of the fall. I think I used it once and then just like tucked it away. So I need to pull it out more again this fall. I don't think I will be purchasing from ColourPop anymore, like ever, but since I have all of these palettes to use, I really do need to get some use out of them. This is a pretty color story. I definitely need to pull this out this season. All right, the last of my ColourPop palettes, and one that I've really truly enjoyed, but I feel like she maybe needs to go on the chopping block. So this of course is the Aha Honey palette. I love this palette, but you know, the saturation of tones in this palette compared to the Citronata palette from Glam Shop, it just can't be beat. The thing about this is it does have, you know, some kind of like more quote unquote neutrally shades to use. I think what I need to do though is just use this one. I haven't really used this one in a while, so I think it needs to happen. I don't know if it'll happen this season. It might be something that I decide upon in spring, or maybe I'll pull it out when I just want like, you know, a little more goldeny vibe and see how I feel. It's not a need to have for me anymore, but it might be a want to have. So we'll see. She's sort of, you know, on the precipice of being decluttered, but not quite yet. One more. I forgot about this one. So this is the Zodiac palette. This was another collab with Kathleen Lights. This I think was my second ColourPop palette purchase. I got the Dream Street palette, which I talked about in my neutrals video if you want to see my thoughts on that. This one I got, honestly, mostly because I love Kathleen. Like, truly. The thing is, this color story is just kind of random to me. And I know Kathleen has made a lot of beautiful looks with it back when, you know, this was new. I thought that I would really love this shade here. It is kind of lackluster though. I just find that the shade that's in here that I use all the time is the Libra. I actually bought it in a single because I really love this sort of like nude, dusty, almost like skin tone mauve situation here. But the rest of it, it tends to be like a one and done or a two and done palette for me, and I just don't need it anymore. So I think I'm gonna declutter this one. It just never spoke to my heart. Yeah, it's time for this one to go. Kind of breaks my heart. Love the packaging. It's so cute. This like navy blue and this rose gold. You know, I love me some rose gold, but it's not like I'm carrying this around as like an accessory, so it's time to let it go. All right, my last few colorful palettes. Here we have the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3 palette. This, of course, is the Infinite Light palette. I'm not getting rid of this one. Now, can I just say though, so she brought out the, was it the 4 is the one that is like missing these inner shades. I think I would have preferred that option because these inner shades I don't use all that much. Maybe it's like inner corner or something like that. They're just not unique. There's a lot of brands that do something like this, and really, if I'm gonna be honest, they do it better. It's an okay formula, it's just not my favorite. You're not even gonna be able to pick this up on the camera, but of course it's just those iridescent shades. I love playing with this one. I need to play with it more. I did not purchase the newest Lightwork palette just because I need to use this one more. So it is not going to go. I just need to use it more. I do love Danessa, and these are really great shades. It would be nice to have the smaller version that didn't have the 4 iridescents in the middle. But that's mostly just for like space and even like travel sake. I would probably travel with this more if it wasn't so big. All right, 2 little baby Viseart palettes. We have the Petite Mattes Dark, and we have the Petite Mattes Editorial Brights. So let's go ahead and pop these open. I'm sure you've all seen them. Here's the darks, so fun, so grungy. I really need to pull these out this fall. And then here I have the brights. These are really so awesome. I have not used these enough. Again, I think this one for sure needs to come out into my fall Shop My Stash. 2 more palettes. One is a keeper and one is, all right, 2 more palettes. One is a keeper and one I'm gonna declutter. So this is the Jungle Lights palette from Flower Beauty. I mean, just look at how pretty this is. You all have to know this is going to be the one that I'm keeping. I love these shades. I've talked about this palette many times on my channel. It's gorgeous. All these work really well still, so it's definitely a keeper. If you haven't tried it out, I highly recommend trying those, the Jungle Lights and the Desert Lights. This is the one that I'm letting go of. Oh my gosh, train. We're just going to keep rolling here. It's the train telling me, Kelly, you're done. So this is the Velvet Dusk palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I bought this one to be able to try the formula. There was just something about this color story. Upon initial thought, I was like, ooh, yeah, kind of colorful, kind of grungy, love it. And then I got it and I'm like, I am just not sure what I'm doing here. It just isn't inspiring to me. I've used the mattes on their own. They're okay, and the shimmers just didn't do it for me. I thought about popping these out and putting them in my singles collection, but I just don't think I'd reach for them all that much. So it's just better if I pass this on as a whole palette to someone who really does like this formula and could use these shadows. So final palette, this one is going. Now let's do our tally. All right, so one final look at everything I'm going to be decluttering. I'm slightly disappointed. I'm not gonna lie, I'm slightly disappointed. I'm just looking around here and is there other things that I need to get rid of? So I'm getting rid of 24 of the 74 eyeshadow palettes, which is 32.43%. The thing is I know that I put a few onto the chopping block. Let's kind of take a look at these. So if I really had to pick a few chopping block palettes, it would be the Pretty Poison, the Aha Honey, and then the Solmana 2 palette. So I feel like I will probably end up getting rid of one of these in the next few months, but since I'm not doing it right now, I can't count it. But again, this one is going to be going into my Shop My Stash for the fall. I feel like this is going to be the biggest Shop My Stash ever, but you know, if I use a palette a couple times, I feel like I can know if I'm gonna love it or not, if it deserves a place in my stash. But that is it. That is it. I hope you enjoyed getting to see everything that I was getting rid of. It feels good to declutter. I'm gonna have so much more space, and then it's gonna be nice. The key now is to not buy so much that I end up filling it all back up again. All right, lovelies, thank you for sticking around through this. If you have any of these, if there's anything that you think I should get rid of, if there's anything that you're like, oh my gosh, Kelly, that's my favorite palette, how could you get rid of it? Let me know too. You know, we all have different preferences, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with me and all of my eyeshadow. Thanks, lovelies. I'll see you really soon.